Hello, my name is Darcy Griffin, and I made a presentation on the country of Russia. As you can see in this picture on the front of the slideshow, these are the different flags that represent each of the states, as you will, of Russia. Just as the United States has several different flags, one for each state, Russia also has a different flag for each of their states. Russia is located in Europe/Asia. Some people say that it's located mostly in Europe and a little bit in Asia. Some say it's in Eurasia, which is a combination of the two as they are connected as a continent. Russia is located in northeastern Europe, directly north of Asia. Russia is the largest country in our world. Over 6.5 million square miles and over 300 million people. To the north of Russia, the Arctic Ocean. To the south, you have China and also Mongolia, Kazakhstan. To the east, Northern Pacific Ocean is over there. And to the west, the Black Sea. Also the Ukraine. Moscow is on the west side of Russia, and Moscow is the capital of Russia. A quick history of Russia and their education. Founded in the 7th century, specifically in the year 862 by King Rurik of the Rus. In the 10th century, Rus conquered Kiev, and now they have become Kievan Rus. This is a new group that will come to power. During the 10th and 11th century, Kievan Rus are super powerful in Europe. They are one of the most powerful groups. In the 13th century, the Kievan Rus are overtaken by another group called the Mongols. In the 14th century, Moscow rises to power. In 1547, during that time, Ivan the Terrible names himself the first ever Tsar, which was like their ruler. In the 17th century, Peter the Great moves the capital from Moscow to St. Petersburg as Russia continues to expand. In the 19th century, this is when Russian culture was prevalent. This is when the traditions and events and clothing and the real, true culture of Russia came to be. Many famous artists, musicians, people who made artifacts and who helped to create these traditions were prevalent during this time period. In the 20th century, Stalin took power. This was when communism and fascism was a real rise of power. Millions of people died. Forced labor camps and terrible conditions attributed to these deaths. In 1941, the Germans invaded Russia for World War II. In 1949, the Cold War took place. And in 1991, the Soviet collapse, and Russia is what remains. And what we know today as Russia, that's when this came about. Now, to move on to Russian education. In the United States, we have preschool, we have kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, and high school. While in Russia, they have a 3-part school system consisting of 11 years. There is first Here are some pictures of examples of a Russian school day. First, we have the primary general education, and this is somewhat equivalent to a preschool and elementary school. It's 4 years long. It's basically pre-K to 4th grade. This is the time period when Russian students learn their basics of reading, writing, math, and handicraft, as well as sciences. These are the skills that are needed for your basic day-to-day life. You have one teacher in classroom, but you leave the class for PE and music classes. That's why it's similar to our elementary school. Here is a picture of an elementary school student. Their middle school is called Basic General Education. This is 4 years long. It's sort of like 5th to 9th grade. This is when you start to travel room to room and you have different teachers and different expectations that you need to meet in each class. You will have something like a homeroom teacher or one main teacher that you report to, and they are responsible for your education as a whole and you succeeding and going on to the next grade. Sciences are the main focus of basic general education. You learn all of the different types of sciences, and you relate that, and you do English projects and math projects, all related to your science. Your science is the complete main focus. In order to exit their middle school, which is basic general education, you have to take a giant test called the OGE, and you have to pass it. This way you can move on to secondary specialized school or complete general education, which is like high school. So a secondary specialized school would be like a vocational technical school that you would go completely going on to mechanics or nurse technician or janitorial or music and the like. The Russian equivalent to high school is called the complete general education. This is a 2-year-long process where your main goal is to get ready for a university. This is when you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something with more school that you need to complete. Your student will choose a more in-depth area of something they've already thought about. They might have upwards of 7 lessons a day, so this is going to be a very long school day compared to their previous education. They must pass a test called the USE in order to move on. This test consists of math, teachers in Russia. They'll go to either like a 2 to 3 year college or institute where they learn about teaching, and they're going to specialize in labors, arts, singing, music, physical training, drawing, and the more schooling and classes you take, this is going to increase and give you more money. Similarities from Russia to the U.S. education. With students, they have similar social lives, they still do social media, they take the same basic subjects, math, reading, writing, science, history. They also both have standardized tests that they must complete. Teachers are similar because of the quality of education is about the same. They both have limited time for large amounts of material they need to learn. They both have an okay pay and a sufficient curriculum. Breaks. Differences between the Russia and U.S. cafeteria food. They definitely have different meal statuses. The way children respect their teachers is way different. In Russia, you must respect your teacher. There is not a choice. Student behavior is also much different, as well as the classroom and the way the school is organized as a whole. In Russia, the main focus is going to be to memorize your facts and your basic studies. Whereas in the US, you want to be a critical thinker and you want to know why, what, who, when, where, how. Thank you for listening to my presentation.